Hey everyone. So I'm Miguel, and if you haven't seen me around at this meetup enough, I've been an Android developer for a very long time, and this year I also started freelancing, and it has been also an adventure. It's a very interesting topic to speak about freelancing, so if you are also into that or you want to talk about that, come to talk with me. But I will not be talking about freelancing, I'll be talking about Vim, and more exactly about IdeaVim, which is a plugin for Android Studio to use and to do exactly the same that you can do with Vim. So I started using Vim before I became an Android developer. I was doing C++, and back in those days, the only thing that I had, like the only editor that I could use that was good was Visual Studio. Not Visual Studio Code, but like Microsoft Visual Studio that you can only use in Windows. That was the best editor that you could have at that time. And I had some colleagues that were using Vim, and they had some plugins that were doing the same thing that I was able to do with Visual Studio, but I didn't have to use Windows. That was the great thing. So I started using Vim, and I forced myself to use Vim just that I could use those plugins. And fast forward, the plugins were not the interesting part. Was actually the editor was the nice part of that. So I heard a lot of people that say, I want to use Vim, but then they face things that, everything becomes a mess when they start typing, they don't know how to exit the editor, and so I'm going to give you some motivation to try Vim, and also I will show you how you can do many editing things with Vim, and also in Android Studio with IdeaVim. So the goal is that you end up using it all day, every day, when you're in the terminal and also when you are on your favorite editor. One reason for that is to avoid using your mouse. And I don't know you, but I don't really like trackpads. So when I'm working on my laptop, I kind of prefer to not to have to use it. And also as well, when you are in public transport, some kind of like trains, or maybe you are flying, and there is a turbulence or a bump or something, and you click by mistake on the trackpad, that's something that happens. So you avoid using your mouse if you can edit things directly using, you will see how. Also as well, I use it for writing commits and for anything that has to do with writing things on the terminal. So if I need to connect to a remote machine, I know that this machine will have Vim, and I can use Vim also to do all the editing that I need to do in this machine. I use it with Android Studio and IntelliJ. You will see how with this plugin called IdeaVim. Actually, when you install IntelliJ or AppCode or any other of the editors from JetBrains except Android Studio, it asks you at the beginning if you want to enable IdeaVim or not. And I don't know why Android Studio is the only one that they don't ask you that. Maybe that should change. I also like to run macros with Vim, and you will see that writing macros is super fun because you kind of like program your editor on the go and then run this little program that you just recorded. So you can do that for editing things, like I want to change the third word in this sentence and I want to make it uppercase. So you can do that live with the editor. As I said, there's many cool plugins, but these plugins are not on Android Studio, are for the Vim editor. That was the reason I started using Vim, and also because you feel like a hacker, I think that's a really good reason to also start using Vim. Okay, what is Vim exactly? Vim is a highly configurable, they say, text editor for efficiently creating and changing any kind of text. So it's a text editor, it's not an IDE. It's not going to replace all the cool things that you can do with Android Studio, with IntelliJ, etc. It's a text editor. It's for changing the content of a file. And the good thing is that it is included as VI in most Unix systems and Apple OS computers, and not Windows, but pretty much everywhere else. And that means that any Linux machine that you have to connect to, doesn't matter which version of Linux they are running, which version of corporate Unix even, a Mac, whatever, you type VI and you are actually running Vim there. So once you learn to use Vim, you have this power of going to any machine and have a very powerful editor for you available. So I say VI and Vim. VI is the grandma of Vim. VI has been around for more than 40 years already. And I think Vim is 20 something already also. And the thing is that Vim is the improved version of VI. Actually means VI improved this Vim. And it supports syntax highlight, it supports plugins, scripting, etc. This deck that you see here is actually running in Vim. So this is a Vim plugin which is showing some markdown as if it's a presentation. VI is bare bones, like you really don't want to use VI directly. But if this is like the only thing that you have, all the key bindings and everything that you have learned from using Vim, you can use them in VI. There's also other clones from Vim, one called NeoVim, which the developers of Vim and the developers of NeoVim and so they decided to fork and to build other kind of plugins, and this is the good thing of open source, right? But they are both still really popular and they have a big community behind. There's plugins for absolutely everything. So what you need to understand from this VI mode and this kind of editing files is that you have three modes of editing. You have what is called the normal mode, the insert mode, and the visual mode. So insert mode is what you already are in any other editor. Insert mode is where you can type things. So I can type here on the screen also. And normal mode is where you can actually run commands. And you can run commands like movements to move your cursor here around or to search things, etc. So you go into insert mode by pressing I, and then you go back to normal mode by pressing escape. And as you can see in the corner of the screen, it's telling me, well, now I'm in insert mode. And I'm also showing you the key presses that I'm pressing because this will be like a live coding thing, so you can see that. And when I press escape, I go back to normal mode. And visual mode is also a mode that allows you to visually select things. And I go into visual mode by pressing V. And that allows me to select text, for example. Now I can select all the text on the screen, and I press escape, and I go back into normal mode. So you're using escape all the time to go back from these different two modes into normal mode. But again, insert mode is just the one that you type things in, like any text editor like Notepad and so. So I'm going to show you these comments that I said in the normal mode, how they work. And what I have here is a little function declaration made in Kotlin. And I'm going to use these two comments here. One is the slash, and the other is this CI parentheses. What I'm going to do is to change the parameters that I have in this function by something else. Instead of name string, I will write something like token. So first I need to move my cursor into the name parameter. And to do that, I will use a slash for search, and then I will type name. That's already searching for something, and when I press return, the cursor is in where I want it, no, in the search thing, in the thing that I have searched, no, in the name in this case. Then I can use the CI parentheses, and what CI parentheses is doing, it means change in parentheses. So it's looking for the two parentheses that I have surrounding me, and it's changing the content inside. And that changing means that I delete everything that is there, and then I go into insert mode. And now I can type my code here. Now I can say what I said. No, token. Okay, so this is an example of running commands with Vim in normal mode. And as you saw, I went into insert mode, and then I typed something, and then I went into normal mode pressing escape. So I'm gonna leave it like it was. You really need to use escape a lot. okay? And these pieces of hardware don't have escape button anymore because we have this super useful touch bar. And what I have done, and many people is doing, is to map escape to something else. But this is, I mean, the other way around, to map something else to escape. So in my case, what I have mapped is CapsLock. And when I'm clicking here is CapsLock, but it looks like I'm pressing escape because I don't have escape key. You probably want to do that anyways, because you want to have escape somewhere where your fingers are close and not to the other side of the keyboard. And there's people who have, like, instead of caps lock, they have a space or they have something else. You can choose whatever works for you. I think caps lock works really well because I usually don't do all caps all the time. And even if you do that, you can just type them in lowercase, and then with a Vim command, you can make them uppercase. So you don't really need caps lock when you're using Vim. It's a good key to use your escape. That's one of the things that you should change, like, right away when you start using Vim. So this is an Android meetup, and I will be showing you how everything that I have tell you works also on Android Studio. And this plugin, which is called IdeaVim, is available for all the flavors of the JetBrains editor. Android Studio, IntelliJ, WebStorm, all of them have this plugin. And I think this plugin is officially supported by JetBrains. Like, they have one developer who is working on this plugin actively. So I'm gonna switch to Android Studio. And, well, sorry, it's IntelliJ. No, it's not Android Studio. What I have here is a little Kotlin file, and I will show you some exercises. You can also check out this project at home and run these exercises also as well. The only thing you need to do is you check out this project, you open it with IntelliJ, and you have to install the IdeaVim plugin. So let's learn about movement. And movement works differently in Vim. When you're in normal mode, you can move your cursor with the keyboard. And the basic movement is this HJKL, which is a little bit weird, but it makes sense. So K goes up, J goes down, L goes to the right, and H goes to the left. And maybe you want to use something you're more familiar with. Maybe you want to use the the arrows. That will work also as well. Or you want to use the WASD, like if it's a first-person shooter. I will not recommend you to do that because those keys are used for something else. So don't start doing weird mappings and try to learn the normal way of doing things. So HJKL, rest where your fingers are resting in the keyboard because they are in the central row of keys. And this is the basic thing that you need to learn. So what I have done to learn them and to force myself to use them is to disable arrows when I'm in normal mode. I will show you how you can do that. That's a good exercise to get started and to force yourself to do that. But there are more efficient ways of moving your cursor around. One of them is W, which W jumps for words. It goes to the beginning of every single word. And then you have B, which goes back for every single word also as well. As you can see, the keys are not just random, they have a meaning. So W is for word, is for changing words, and B is for going back. If I press E, what it's gonna do is going to the end of a word. So it's also another way of navigating. It's important that you kind of practice this movement, but it's totally fine if at the beginning you are just going to the place that you need, like this and then like this. And you will learn the efficient way of doing this in the future also as well. So once you have learned movement, you can learn also editing. And editing that I showed you at the beginning, you can do also you go into insert mode when you press I, and then you go back into normal mode by pressing escape. You can see that the cursor also changes. So I have this cursor that takes the whole character when I'm in normal mode, and I have a line which is when I'm in insert mode. Now, and I can type things here. So let's do this little exercise, and I go to the end of the line and I add something there. So I have two ways of doing this. I can use a dollar to go to the end of the line, and then I can press A to append to where my cursor was. So if I use I insert before the cursor, and if I press A, I append after the cursor. So I can append and say something here, I type something, I press escape, and I go back to normal mode. But also as well, I can press capital A, and that is doing two things. That is going to the end of the line, and is also appending. And it's exactly the same that I did before with one key press. With two key presses, now I can do it with one. No, what I did with $A, now I can do it with capital A. It's doing exactly the same. So, and in Vim, suppose that in German, there are many ways of saying the same thing. You know, in German, there is only one right way of saying something. That's what my teacher was always saying. But in Vim, you can actually do the same thing in many different ways. So, more basic commands that you should learn. X for deleting, you can use it for deleting one character, like this. And also like D is also a delete, but D doesn't do anything alone. You have to use it with something else. So you can use V and then J, and it deletes this line and the line below. Or you can use double D to delete the line. Or you can use also like capital D, which deletes from where you are till the end of the line. You don't have to learn all these combinations. You have to learn maybe one or two, and then you can experiment and find the other ones. And undo is very important. So you need to do undo all the time. And it's very important that you keep that in mind. But don't worry, Control Z still works also as well. So you can use both of them. Another code challenge, similar to the one that we did before. And without using the mouse, replace this user and password that I have here in this code, like this, and replace them by token, and also call to this method perform validation. Okay, so how I will work normally when I'm editing things with IdeaVim is first I will move to the line that I need to go. And to move to the line, I can use the colon and then type the number of the line, like 87 in this case. That moves to the line that I need to go. Then I want to move inside the parentheses, and I can do that in many ways. I can press W like 3 times and I will go there, or I can also search for user. So you will find your way of doing things. Then here I run the same little command that I did before, the change in parents. And now I can write my code. Okay, now I need to change the next line. I go down and I do exactly the same, the change in parents. And as you can see, it was able to match the two parents that I had, even if I had like a method in the middle and so. And here I can call to my perform validation method, and I pass the token, escape, and I'm done. Everything without like going to grab my mouse and then dragging and then delete and then copy something. Everything with a keyboard. So a little bit of review of this, no? I move to the line with colon number. I move into the user variable by searching user. Then I did the change parents with CI parentheses. I type whatever I had to type, and I press escape to go back into normal mode. I move down with J, and then I do again this change in parents with CI parents. And then I type the other thing that I need to type, and I press escape. So you can check out this project, and you can learn this also. Like you can try this at home as well. Try this at home. So visual mode that I've been talking about before is very useful when you need to comment and uncomment code. And here, for example, if I want to uncomment these lines that I have in the 117, 118, and 19, so I can do that with capital V, is doing a visual line selector, and then I go down 2 times, and I have my code selected. And I can do a command slash for commenting, command slash for uncommenting. But there is another way of doing this, and there is this VIP. So VIP is doing the visual selection in paragraph. It's looking for the 2 lines that are empty between where I have my cursor, and it's also visually selecting them. So again, different ways of doing the same thing. You go into visual mode and you run whatever you need to run, and you have it there. So many ways of doing this. Searching, as I showed you before, you use the slash for searching, so I can search for the word search. And then I can repeat my search with N. With N, I'm searching again. But also with capital N, I go back. There are many commands in Vim and in IdeaVim that when you do the capital version, you do like the opposite, like in the other direction. Like I think with T allows you to move to a character, like T, A goes to before A, but also like capital E, T, A goes back. No, so you can do these kind of movements. And star works, what it's doing is searching for the word that you have the cursor. I use that a lot for navigation because you are on top of a variable and say, okay, I need to find where this variable is being used. So you just type star and you navigate your code that way super fast. And again, you can use N to repeat the same search. So you are using search all the time to go and navigate code super fast. More advanced stuff. You can run regular expressions if you want to like replace things. So I want to replace this foo by bar. Okay, this is one of those that I had to learn, like to remind myself and to have typed somewhere. But yes, you can do like foo slash bar slash G. You run this and it replaces this thing. But you can actually have a regular expression there. If you like regular expressions, you can, well, have fun. And I never use regular expressions with like this. I just do like search and replace. You can still use like the Control-R and then you do like old school search and replace, but I mean, it's nice if you can just do it this way. But there are other things like sorting. For example, this is built in Vim, and I use it a lot to sort parameters when I have like tons of things that I like to have sorted. So you select them with the visual mode and then you type sort and it's sorting this for you. Super useful to use sort. And the macros. Macros are my favorite. So I will record a macro now that will add a 0 at the end of the line, and then I will run it a couple of times. So it will be 10, 20, 30. I record this macro with Q, and then I do it in A. So you don't have to follow, but it's just to show you. And then I go to the end of the line, I add the 0, I exit insert mode, and I press enter to go to the next line, and I finish recording my macro. And then to play it again is with at A and at A. So you can record macros and then you can apply them again. And you can do anything with the macro, like, okay, I want to make this capital letter, make this letter to be uppercase, and I want to delete this, and I want to move this here. So you record your macro like you're editing the first line, and then you play it, and you edit your file like this, super fast. Of course, you can mess it up, so always press U for undo. So, back to the presentation deck. I use Vim as my editor for Git, and you can configure your Vim to be your editor also, like you change it like this, and then every time you have to type something in Git, it will open Vim, and I can show you how it looks because I really like it. So I can do like git commit -a super quickly, and then it shows like this. So it shows my changes, my modified files there, and a little of information, and I can type the message here. It appears on pink. This is what you will see on GitHub, the first line, and then the body appears on white also. So it's giving you like this feeling that you can write really nice commits this way. So I'm not gonna save this. Exit. And configuring Vim is probably the most fun part. My recommendation is don't overdo at the beginning, because I did. I like, okay, I need plugins for this, and I installed all the plugins and it was terrible, and one plugin was not working with the other. So start slow and put it on source control. Everyone is doing that. So you can create like a symbolic link from your GitHub repo to your vimrc in your home, let's say, and then you can commit all the changes that you do and you push it on GitHub. So share it with people. I shared mine. You will find it in the repo that I will be sharing. So I can show you quickly also as well, just for you to see many things. And what I have installed, for example, as plugins is I have a Space Gray is the theme that I'm using. I'm also using a plugin that shows me the white space at the end of the line. So if I do like this, it tells me, oh, you have, oh, sorry. If you do like this, so it's telling me that, yeah, you left some white space at the end of the line. So that's ugly, don't do that. Git getter is what you see here. Now it's telling me already, hey, you have uncommitted changes. So it works like any other editor that is telling you that. And you can even have Kotlin highlight. So the Vim deck that I was showing before, it was with Kotlin and it was like highlighting fun. So you have a little bit of highlight also with Kotlin, with any other languages. I'm using Vim a lot for editing Gradle files. When I need to like do a release and I need to change something, I go into Gradle files, and so that's why I have this configuration here, which I'm telling the Gradle files show me like if it's a Groovy file. And Groovy files, I want to have 2 spaces instead of 4 spaces when I do a tab. So you can have this configuration also as well. Many things that you should be configuring here, like ignore case for searching, show me the ruler that is telling you have more than 80 characters per column, the numbers. The timeout is also good, because timeout means that you have a lot of time to write your comments. Some people force themselves to have a very short timeout, but if you're learning, don't do that. And yeah, so configuration from files and so. And this one is interesting. This is for forcing me to not to use the arrows. I put this almost the very first day that I started using Vim, and it has been there for years. And this forces me to not to use arrows by mapping them to no operation in normal mode. But when I'm in insert mode, I can use them. So this is interesting. You can do these kind of super powerful ways of doing things. So I'm going to show you also the, oops, sorry. Let me close everything, and I show you IdeaVim also, because Idea also have a configuration file that you can have. And here I don't have plugins or anything so cool like the other one, but I still have things that are nice to have, like support for multiple cursors, or having that the clipboard is actually the clipboard from the operating system and not the internal clipboard from Vim. That's nice to have. And as well, the thing of the keys. So if you are gonna try this with your Android Studio, I recommend you to take a look at this configuration file that I have, copy it and modify it for your own needs. But this is quality life, so it will help you. So, oops, this one. As I said, there's always a better way, but you just keep improving, right? At the beginning, you will be using the arrows a lot. You will be using HJKL, but then in the future, you will be more familiar with all the other ways. Just don't stress, okay? Just hit U again and go back if you mess it up. go into insert mode and just stay in insert mode if you want, like the whole day in insert mode, never go into normal mode. That will work also. So if you need to be productive one day because nothing works, so just do that. If you want to become a pro, you can play Vim Golf. And Vim Golf is an app, it's a command line app, let's say, application, that is giving you challenges. And these kind of challenges are, here's some code, and here's some code that you need to edit to look like that. And try to make it with the minimum number of movements of key presses using Vim. So there's people who do that and they have super awesome scores, and then you see what they did and like, okay, I didn't know that that was a command on Vim. So you learn a lot this way, you challenge yourself to improve. It's a really nice way, but it's kind of advanced that when you're learning, the best resource is probably Vim Tutor, and that is something that you can install. Vim Tutor is like it's a tutorial that runs on top of Vim, so you can run commands there also, and it teaches you everything. Like you see, the first lesson is already the same thing that I was showing you about the movement and everything, and it's giving you little exercises to do. So it's the right place to go for learning. And as well, you have Vim Adventures, which is a website. It's a game that you play on the website, and you move your character around the screen, and you are solving puzzles, but you need to use Vim movements to do them. This is a paid game, but I think that it's a really nice investment if you want to do that. And of course, you have also my talk, and you will find there the project that I show you, this deck also as well, these markdown files, and also the configuration files that I have and everything else. Thanks a lot. I hope you learn a lot, and I hope you are motivated also as well to like try this, and try this at home, and try this at work also as well. Thank you.